When I was 9 years old, my parents adopted my sister Jen, who was 7 at the time. Jen was thin and fearful due to being neglected. We did everything to make her feel loved. We bought her lots of toys. Everything Jen wanted, she got. When my parents asked me to move to the smaller bedroom so Jen could have my room, I was happy to do so. When they asked if I would let Jen pick the decorations and cake for my upcoming birthday, I agreed. I was so happy to have a sister, and I understood why my parents gave her special treatment. Only the treatment didn't stop. For years, every trip we went on, we had to do what Jen wanted to do. We had to eat where she wanted to eat, and she got to plan all of my birthday parties. If she didn't get what she wanted, she threw a tantrum. I still felt loved and cared for by my parents. They drove me to practices, bought me things, cooked meals for me, spent quality time with me, and gave me advice, but I was always second to Jen. As I got older, I did anything I could to leave the house. I got my first job when I was 12. I vacationed with friends instead of family. I played 3 different sports and was in band. I took my driver's test the day I turned 16 and bought a car the day after. I went to college on the other side of the country. Now that I make good money, I do things I missed as a child. I take fancy vacations and throw elaborate parties as I please. My wedding was no exception. My fiancé Kip and I wanted everything to be perfect. We thought it would be fun to have a color scheme. My favorite color is yellow, and his is blue, so my guests would wear yellow, his would wear blue, and mutual friends would wear green. I picked out a dress with green embroidered details, and he picked a boutonniere with green flowers. When Jen found out about this, she was mad. I didn't know this, but she hates yellow and said it washes her out. She told me under no circumstances would she wear yellow. I shrugged and said that was fine. I would just kick her out if she did not wear yellow. There was no further discussion, but on my wedding day, Jen came in a purple dress. I told her to leave immediately. The color scheme was perfect, and she ruined it. Jen refused to leave until I threatened to call security. The rest of the wedding went smoothly, but afterwards, my parents were furious with me for kicking Jen out. I told them that I warned her she would be kicked out if she didn't follow the color scheme, but they said they all thought it was a joke. They said it was cruel of me to kick my sister out over something so trivial. I told them this was my wedding that I threw without their support, so I can kick out whoever I want to. Kip came rushing to defend me and even told my parents they should be ashamed of how they treated me. But over the past few days, a lot of people I've talked to, grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends, have been mixed. Some say they wouldn't have even invited Jen if they were me, while others think I should have let it slide. Am I the jerk? To add, now that the contest is over and I can finally edit, I want to make a few things clear. First, I figured people would assume this, but I did not ask my guests to dress head to toe in their assigned color. I completely understand that people might not have yellow formal wear laying around. I said to dress in only neutral colors and/or your assigned color, so someone could wear a black dress and yellow jewelry, a black suit and a yellow tie, etc., but no colors outside neutral or your assigned color. Second, I invited Jen because she is family, and I honestly thought she was more mature than this. I did not know she hated the color yellow when I chose the color scheme. Now for an update. First, thanks for all of your comments. I felt so guilty the past few days and was worried it would carry into my honeymoon. But you have helped me realize that I am not the bad guy, and it is okay that I responded the way I did. Last night, my parents reached out to me and asked if all the things Kip said about how they should be ashamed were true. At that point, I told them how my upbringing had impacted me and how my wedding was supposed to make up for the parties I never had as a child, the decisions I never got to make. For the first time, I was able to call all of the shots and make everything exactly the way I wanted it to be. I even showed them this post and how most of you responded to help reinforce what I said. My parents said they had absolutely no idea how deeply their treatment had affected me. This is somewhat fair because I never really talked to them about it, but at the same time, I feel like they should have wondered why I left home as soon as I could, never came back, and hardly ever texted or called them. They said they feel so sorry about it and are now planning a vacation with them, myself and Kip, for next summer to make up for it. I'm trying not to get my hopes up, but at least now it looks like they're making an effort. As for Jen, according to my parents, she really struggled to make friends in middle school and high school. I didn't know this because I practically lived with my high school boyfriend my sophomore and junior years of high school, and then graduated early. And Jen repeated a year in elementary school due to trauma, so we were 5 grades apart, despite only being 2.5 years apart. My parents tried putting her in therapy, but she wouldn't cooperate. College was a slap in the face for her when she realized the world didn't revolve around her. She had to live in the same 7 by 9 foot room with plaster walls and linoleum floors as everyone else. She dropped out after a year and tried getting a job, but got fired after a few months. At that point, my parents realized they really messed up. They told Jen she had to either go to intensive therapy or they would kick her out. According to my parents, she's now taking classes at a community college and hoping to transfer to a 4-year institution. She's doing better for the most part, though she occasionally lashes out. I'm glad Jen is getting the help she needs and working towards a career, and I am excited about potentially going on a trip with my parents and husband, while also knowing they might bail. I'm open to having more of a relationship with them, but I don't think we will ever be a super tight-knit family. Some wounds are too deep, but instead of dwelling on the past, I'm looking toward my future, starting a family with Kip and making sure I don't make the same mistakes my parents did. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. The question here isn't whether or not a color scheme is stupid. It very well could be, but it's also becoming the norm. And frankly, if you don't like it, you don't have to attend the event. But what you don't get to do is say a color scheme is stupid, so I'll make up my own rules and force the couple getting married to let me in. Jen was wrong here. OP, you did the right thing in kicking her out. Her feelings that she can dictate the rules for your wedding aren't any worse than you having those rules in place. In short, forget Jen. She got what she wanted in the end. Comment 2. The parents have enabled her behavior for years. Apparently, Jen is so accustomed to getting exactly what she wants that she believes she can't possibly be wrong. OP warned her about the color scheme and what would happen if it was ignored. Better late than never, Jen has finally experienced that she will be held accountable for her actions. Now for the update. 2 days after the wedding, I got this text from my mom about the family vacation plans. I was still recovering from the wedding drama, but I guess this was supposed to be a step in the right direction. The vacation was set for the next month, and it would be at some beach resort. My parents love those places where you pay a ton of money for a drink with a tiny umbrella in it. Anyway, I was still trying to find a way to pay for my therapy, but I guess free family vacations are a start. Then, out of nowhere, Jen texted me, asking if she could join the vacation despite everything that happened at the wedding. Her text was super formal and kind of awkward, like she was trying to get me to say something dramatic, like, "Oh my God, you're so brave for asking. Of course you can come, you beautiful butterfly." But I just said, sure. I mean, I wasn't about to say no in a text. I saved that for face-to-face conversations. A week later, the family gathered at my parents' house to talk about the vacation details. This was not a meeting I was looking forward to. I walked in and immediately felt like I was walking into a live episode of a reality TV show, minus the glamorous lighting and the fun catchphrases. Jen arrived late, wearing a casual outfit that seemed like it was thrown together in 5 minutes. We get it, Jen. You're trying to be relatable and casual now. I noticed she looked anxious and was fidgeting with her phone, probably taking selfies to post later with a caption like, "That awkward moment when you realize you're the black sheep of the family." During dinner, my parents brought up activities for the trip, trying to keep the mood light and fun. Jen suddenly suggested we should do a family photo shoot, claiming it would be fun. Yeah, because nothing says fun family vacation like pretending to be happy for a camera while gritting your teeth and hoping no one brings up Thanksgiving. So the conversation shifted, and my parents started discussing food options for the trip. Jen interrupted, insisting we should try a new restaurant while we were there. Suspiciously, she kept talking about this new restaurant like she had just bought a franchise and wanted us to invest. After dinner, I stepped outside for some fresh air because I was slowly turning into a human stress ball. Jen followed me outside, clearly wanting to talk, but not in front of the cameras, I guess. The next day, I got a call from my mom saying Jen had announced she would bring her friend to the vacation. I was like, what friend? Because I had no idea she was allowed to have friends after the wedding incident. I confronted my parents about this new development, and they insisted it would be fine. They said they wanted Jen to feel supported. Supported? They were practically handing her a gold medal for being a hot mess. So I decided to take a stand and sent a group message to my family. I mean, this was a big deal. The response from my parents was defensive, saying they just wanted everyone to be happy. Happiness was not on the agenda. This was a family vacation, not a therapy retreat. Of course, Jen texted back, claiming she was only trying to help bring fun to the trip. Fun? Right. A few days later, we all gathered again to finalize vacation plans. At this point, I felt like I was living in a sitcom where every episode revolved around family vacations. I took a deep breath and brought up the need for boundaries, specifically about Jen's friend. You could hear a pin drop. The conversation escalated, with Jen arguing that she shouldn't be punished for wanting to include her friends. Punished? Oh, please, like anyone was sending her to jail for being a weirdo. The parents jumped in, trying to mediate, but it only made things worse. They were like two referees in a boxing ring, and we all know how that ends. Finally, I stated that if Jen's friend was coming, I would reconsider going on the vacation. This declaration caught everyone off guard, creating a silence that felt like a broken record stuck on a really awkward note. Jen, feeling cornered, backed down and agreed to leave her friend behind. I could practically hear the collective sigh of relief from my parents. They reluctantly supported my decision, realizing it was necessary for any sort of harmony. It was a weird moment, like we all knew we were in a dysfunctional family, but we were okay with it. The family finally left for the beach resort without any more drama. Well, at least none that I was a part of. I was hoping for some much-needed relaxation, but knowing my family, I was probably going to get a reality check instead. Am I the idiot for refusing to let my ADHD daughter babysit her step-siblings so my ex's wife can have a break? I am 39 years old and have two children, Kimmy, who is 14 years old, and a 9-year-old son. I share custody with their father, Dave. Kimmy is starting high school soon, and her school sent a list of extracurricular activities. I want my children to be academically inclined and join clubs to meet people. I told Kimmy to pick some clubs, and as of right now, she picked out 10, which we are definitely going to shorten down. Kimmy sent a list of clubs to her father so he could help her. He didn't respond, and instead, I got a call from Dave's wife, Amy, a little later. Amy asked me if Kimmy was really going to join all of those clubs, and I said not all, but probably some of them. Amy followed by asking if Kimmy could only join one of the clubs on her list, which confused me. I asked why. Amy explained that she has to go to work soon, and she really needs someone to take care of her kids. She was hoping that Kimmy would be able to go to their house straight after school and take care of them. Amy has 3 kids under 13 and recently had a baby with Dave. Kimmy has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which makes it hard for her to care for her own needs. I already feel extremely uncomfortable leaving her with 4 young kids unattended. Amy didn't even mention transportation and how Kimmy would get there. I told her no. This upset Amy. She told me that Kimmy is a part of her family too, and as a family, they all need to chip in. According to her, Kimmy should chip in by babysitting. She ranted on, giving me a sob story about how she was struggling already with Dave working, how hard it was to be a mom to 4 kids who depend on her so much, and how expensive childcare was nowadays. I told her no and explained why I was uncomfortable, to which she just reiterated her story, and this happened twice. By this time, I had said no 3 times, and she was still asking. I thought it was clear that no meant no, not no, and ask again later. I interrupted her and told her no is my final answer, and that she's honestly pathetic to ask a 14-year-old for support, and it sounds like she needs to grow up instead of relying on children to pick up her slack. As you would expect, Amy and Dave are upset with me, which I don't really mind. My only issue is that when I told my sister, she thought I was being cruel, which is making me rethink things. Am I the jerk? To add, a common question I'm being asked is what custody looks like. My kids go to their fathers 1 week every month and stay with me for the rest. But there are times when they stay at their fathers longer than expected, with my permission. For instance, the kids stayed a couple of weeks at their fathers for the summer. Sometimes they stay an extra few days, but the custody is officially me 3/4 and him 1/4, with me being their primary caregiver. Almost forgot. A lot of you are asking about Amy's kids. The oldest is around my son's age, albeit a bit older, and I literally have no idea if their father is helping them or if they have the same father, because it's none of my business. And those are not at all my kids. Additionally, while I'm very glad many of my fellow millennials liked the Babysitters Club, can you please stop using it as a reference? I've read some ridiculous comments on this post, but using fictional 12-year-olds who acted like teenagers as a reason for my child to babysit is one of the most ridiculous arguments I've seen. That's like if I used Aladdin to prove why my kids should get a genie. Also, I don't think struggling moms should be bashed, but they should be treated like humans and need to know when boundaries have been crossed. Dave and I have been co-parenting for a while, so there was a time when I was in Amy's shoes and wondering what I would do with my kids. A thought that did not cross my mind was asking a minor to unwillingly drop all of their interests. There's a difference between setting boundaries and recognizing that my child can't take on a responsibility and simply wanting to put a struggling mother down just because it was another Tuesday. Finally, my kids have also been talked to about this, and we're setting firm boundaries with their stepmom and dad. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Speak with Dave and make it very, very clear that your child won't be babysitting and helping unnecessarily. I don't care if the stepmom needs help. It's not the child's responsibility to assist. You need to keep a close eye on her. She assumed she would have a built-in babysitter, and she will try to force your daughter to help when she goes over. Comment 2. But your sister doesn't think it's cruel to saddle a 14-year-old with a huge, stressful, ongoing responsibility that interferes with her ability to grow her own interests? Yeah, not the idiot. If your sister feels so strongly about Amy's well-being, she can take on childcare duties rather than volunteering her niece for the job. Now, for the update. 2 days after I told Amy to shove it, Dave called me. Things were super tense between our families. Apparently, Kimmy was feeling pressured by Amy to babysit. Amy even suggested we meet in person to talk about our co-parenting arrangement. Like, no, I can't just say no to her. So we met at a local diner where we used to grab breakfast as a family. I guess it was meant to bring back good memories or something. Dave admitted that Amy was overwhelmed, but he insisted that Kimmy should help out because family helps family. I had to say again that Kimmy was not responsible for babysitting. I mean, come on. Dave acknowledged my point, but asked if we could compromise on Kimmy helping out sometimes. I said I would consider it, but only if it fit within Kimmy's schedule. So, a few days later, Kimmy came home and shared how excited she was about starting high school. She mentioned wanting to join the debate team and the art club. I love her enthusiasm and helped her plan a schedule. During this time, Amy called again, asking about Kimmy's extracurriculars. I told her firmly that Kimmy's focus should be on her own activities. You'd think that would be the end of it, but no. Amy showed up unexpectedly at my house. She expressed frustration about the lack of family support and accused me of being selfish. Seriously? I stood my ground, insisting that Kimmy was not a built-in babysitter. The argument got worse, and she stormed out, saying she felt unsupported. Later, I got a text from Dave stating that Amy had been upset for days. So I called Dave to discuss Amy's reaction, and we agreed to arrange a family dinner to ease tensions and discuss boundaries. We set the dinner for a Friday night at a local Italian restaurant. On the day of the dinner, Kimmy expressed anxiety about the meeting. At the restaurant, The atmosphere was super tense. As soon as we sat down, Amy immediately brought up the babysitting situation, wanting to talk about it again. I explained that we needed to focus on Kimmy's needs and interests, not Amy's babysitting service. Dave tried to mediate, but Amy grew increasingly frustrated. The volume of our conversation got louder, drawing attention from neighboring tables. It was embarrassing. Finally, I suggested that we all take a breath and focus on something positive. I brought up Kimmy's plans for high school and the excitement around her interests. Amy reluctantly agreed to shift the topic, but the underlying tension remained. A week later, I learned that Amy had shared our family dinner mishap on social media. I got multiple messages from friends and family about the post. What a mess. We discussed the incident, which led to more tension between me and Dave. The situation got worse when Dave brought up the need for family therapy. I can't believe we are at family therapy now. Like, what happened to us? We used to be close, and now we're just fighting all the time. I mean, I guess I kind of get why we're doing this. Things can't keep going on like they are. I just hope this therapy will help us figure out some boundaries and get back to normal. I want us to be a family again, not these people who are always at each other's throats. Thanks for sticking with me through this and listening to my rants. You guys are the best. All right, it's late. Gonna catch some sleep. Peace out. Edit. I had agreed to a trial session of family therapy, and all of us, including Kimmy, attended. The session was intense. Am I the idiot for packing extra lunches for my daughter and being blamed for enabling a thief? My wife and I have 2 kids, a 10-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. We live in a school district that has already started school, and our kids have been in classes for about 2 to 3 weeks now. Our daughter has been having an issue with her lunch being stolen a few times a week. The school offers breakfast and lunch, but it isn't free. We always put money in accounts for the kids in case they want to eat school lunch instead of what we pack for them. So our daughter doesn't go hungry even if her lunch is taken. She also doesn't have any dietary restrictions. My wife works the night shift as a nurse, so I am the one getting the kids up and ready for school in the morning, including packing lunches. And yes, I put their names on everything. My daughter has told me every time that her lunch was taken. The first few times I asked her to just eat school lunch, but she doesn't always like what they offer. So I started making 2 lunches for her and told her to hide one in her backpack instead of bringing it into the classroom where the other lunches are. I've also talked with her teacher about it, and she said she would be more vigilant about the lunches. But that hasn't stopped them from being stolen. My daughter is not the only one having this issue. My wife is upset about it and wants to bring it up to the principal, superintendent, school board, and so on. She thinks that whoever is stealing from our daughter is a thief and has some kind of grudge against her. I, however, have a different view on it. The way I see it, whoever is taking lunches probably needs that food more than my daughter does. If their family had the means of providing packed lunches, I would assume they would do so. The same goes for putting money in an account for school lunch. My feeling is that whichever kid is stealing lunches is hungry, and I don't want to compound that by making this a bigger issue. The teacher is already aware, and I don't feel we need to elevate this beyond that. Our family is not in dire straits financially. We do just fine, but I know that isn't the case for everyone. And if packing 2 lunches for my daughter means that a hungry kid gets a solid meal, I'm okay with it coming out of our pockets. Now for an update. My wife and I got into an argument about this because she wants to send an email to anyone and everyone at the school district that she feels needs to know about this. I told her that we should wait and see if the teacher can figure out who the kid is, and we can handle this without bringing the whole school district down on this kid and their family. My wife wants to set up meetings with the teacher and principal, but I told her she would need to be the one attending them because I won't, and since she usually sleeps during the day when the kids are in school, she didn't like that. She thinks I am being unreasonable by not protecting our daughter. But our daughter is not going hungry, and whoever is taking her lunches isn't either, which I'm okay with. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You're the awful person here. This doesn't make any sense. The way I see it, whoever is taking lunches probably needs that food more than my daughter does. If their family had means of providing packed lunches, I would assume they would do so. No, they don't. Your daughter's needs don't decrease simply because you're capable of meeting them. If she's going without lunch, she's going without lunch, whether or not you have the means to provide it. It's easy to say that your daughter's not going hungry when you're not the one who is having their lunch stolen. If your daughter wasn't going hungry, she would never have complained to you and your wife about it. What kind of dad lets another kid steal his own kid's lunch because they need it more? Assuming that you live in the United States, there are school lunch programs to handle this situation. No kid in this day and age needs your daughter's lunch more than she does. Thank goodness your child's mom is looking out for her. If only you could show the same level of compassion to your wife and child as you do to the mystery thief. Comment 2. You're the awful person here. You're not helping your daughter or whoever is stealing from her. You're teaching your child that she has to put her feelings aside, that she has to let people take from her because they need it more. There's someone in the world that needs what you have more than you. Are you going to let them take it from you? Your car, house, clothes? You don't know who is stealing from your daughter. A hungry kid should be reported. A neglected kid should be reported. A bully that enjoys harming your daughter should be reported. A kid that is binge eating and stealing from other children? For all you know, it's just a kid that enjoys throwing your daughter's lunch away. Schools offer discounted or free lunches for lower income families. How can this kid get into the program when nobody takes notice of his problem and lets him get away with stealing? Now, for the update. I'm not going to lie. Things really went downhill after the whole lunch stealing drama blew up. Like, a few days after we had that argument, I got a call from the principal of my daughter's school. She was pretty straightforward, but I could tell she was worried. Apparently, our daughter was crying in her office because she overheard some kids talking about who was stealing her lunch. She was really upset. I mean, can you blame her? She didn't want to be known as the girl whose lunch gets stolen. Imagine going to school every day just waiting for your lunch to get taken. So anyway, I knew I had to sit down and talk with her about it. That evening, we had a deep talk and she told me exactly how she was feeling. I completely understood where she was coming from, but it was obvious that the kids at school were really mean and she would probably continue to get bullied. My wife, of course, thought we should take this more seriously and file an official complaint with the school. I mean, I get it, I really do, but I still thought it would be better to handle this quietly. But to keep the peace, I agreed to meet with the principal the next day. So at that meeting, the principal had this great idea, a school-wide assembly to talk about lunch thefts. My wife was all for it. She thought it would help other kids who were in the same situation. I mean, yeah, that's true. But I was still a bit hesitant about the whole thing. The assembly did happen, and I could tell it made our daughter feel a little better. She even said that she was glad they were addressing the issue. I just kept packing those 2 lunches for her every day, trying to ease her anxiety. But one day, I found a note in her lunchbox that said, "I miss my lunch." That hit me hard. I mean, it just reminded me that we were still in this mess. My wife confronted me about it. She said I needed to step up and get more involved. I told her I was doing what I could, but she wasn't having any of it. A few weeks later, we had a school event, and I overheard some kids joking about the lunch thief. It made my stomach drop. I don't want my daughter to hear that. So I went to find her and distract her with some games, which worked for a bit, but she still seemed withdrawn. She even asked me to take her home early. My wife thought she should stay longer, but I could see how upset she was. After the event, my wife wanted to talk, of course. She was upset that I took our daughter home early, but I explained that she needed to relax. Then she started in on me about how I wasn't doing enough to help our daughter. I mean, what more can I do? Then she dropped this huge news on me. She wanted to go to the next school board meeting to discuss the issue further. I just knew that was going to be a disaster. So the day of the meeting came, and it was packed. Another parent got up and accused me of enabling the lunch thief by packing these extra lunches. What? I was shocked. The place got really heated. The principal had to step in and calm everyone down. I felt like I was being publicly shamed. After that, my daughter got invited to a birthday party for one of her classmates. My wife thought it would be fun for her and it would help her forget about the whole lunch situation. But at the party, she overheard some kids making jokes about the lunch thief again. It really made her upset. I tried to distract her with games and stuff, but she just seemed so withdrawn. After the party, I decided to take a break from packing those extra lunches. My wife found out and confronted me about it. She said we were basically giving up on our daughter. We ended up having another argument about how the school needed to do more to protect students. I mean, I agree with that, but what else can we do? At this point, my daughter started asking for school lunches instead of the packed ones. I guess she figured they were safe from being stolen. It just feels like we've gone in circles and nothing has really changed. Edit. Things continued to get worse for my daughter. She faced serious bullying, and we eventually had to switch schools. My wife was adamant about it, and I agreed it was necessary. The new school has been much better, and my daughter is thriving again. She even makes new friends and enjoys school lunches now. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.